how do you know if you're stuck? Because I'm an internal optimist. And so I'm always thinking like, I'm just in a little bit of a snag right now. Next week's going to be better. Tomorrow is going to be better. And then you hit a point where you're like, wait, it's not getting better. Are there some telltale signs that we can look at that go, yeah, you're stuck. You're not moving in the direction you want to be moving?
Yeah. Well, the thing with a snag is you can like if you snag your sweater on something, you're not just sitting there now forever with, your sweater attached to the nail or whatever. So a good way to tell if you're stuck is to get really honest with yourself and say, of all of the choice, now granted, not everyone has the same type of choices. And if you've got medical conditions, you may be limited in your mobility and your choices. And assuming that you have some choices, how's life working? If it's not, assume you're stuck. There's so much stigma around stuckness. How do you know if you're stuck? Are you feeling like crap? Are you doing the things that you say you don't want to be doing? Is your intention action gap the size of the Grand Canyon? Or do you follow through in what you say? And again, no shame, we all get stuck. But how can you tell if you're stuck? If we all got honest with ourselves, it's pretty self-evident. Like, are you stuck? Yes, you are. And that's okay. So I get stuck too. So let's work it out.
And yet here's what I'm also going to say is that I feel like sometimes in life, like your life is so close to you, you can't even see it. I've noticed that it can take a lot to pile up before I go, wait a second, this is not working. I think we become blind to our stuckness sometimes. Do you find that?
So yes, with a big and. I'll speak for myself. It wasn't that I was blind to my stuckness. It was that I really didn't want things to be true that I knew were true. And I really didn't want to go there. Even though a lot of my stuff was unconscious. I didn't know till I was 28 that I had trauma. I'm like, what's that? Never heard of her. But if willing to get honest about ourselves with ourselves, and we go to that little small place of how you doing? If the answer is not, I'm awesome. I'm doing all things considered. I'm using my resources and I'm making my choices and I'm doing what it's in front of me to do. If the answer is not that, then let's assume that there are some stuck places that and the thing about being stuck is that we get very myopic on the areas that are not working. And we forget that, yes, you may be very, very stuck in one area, but there's 6 other areas. We don't want to zoom focus just on what's wrong, but take what's wrong in the context of everything that we're doing well. And then stuck is not as scary.
I feel like we think happiness is a destination. And once you get there, you're going to be like, I'm happy. I did it. And what my experience has been in my own life, what I've seen with patients that I've worked with in my community is even the happiest lives are messy and have down moments and have stuck moments. So if we're just looking at a day-to-day period where maybe in the morning, I'm like, I got up, I had my coffee, I went and worked out, I'm like feeling amazing. And then all of a sudden noon hits and I'm not amazing. Something hits me and I'm not amazing. And now I'm not amazing I'm depressed, I'm anxious for like 3 hours. And then something else happens in the afternoon and boom, okay, now I'm actually good again. Like, how can we give language to what a happy life looks like? Because to me, I feel like a really happy person, but I will still tell you that my day-to-day is very messy. I'm very up and down. And yet, if you ask me, do you have a happy life? I would say, yeah, I have a happy life, because that's what a happy life looks like.
I don't know who coined this phrase, but happiness is the ability to hold multiple truths at the same time. Or mental health is the ability to hold multiple truths. I mean, Marsha Linehan, who created a method of therapy called dialectical behavior therapy, talked about that. More than one thing can be true. I am happy and I'm sad and I got my shit together and I'm a hot mess and things are working and things aren't working. So if we can live in the discomfort of contradictory but equally true truths, that's where happiness lies. But we all want it, and I get this, to be neat and clean. It's if this is going wrong, therefore I cannot be happy. If this is going, and it works on the flip side too, right? If this is going right, who am I to feel sad? And we make space for one reality to be true at a time. And that's not how humans are designed. Happiness and health, and mental health specifically, are the ability to hold multiple truths all at the same time. And that's really hard to do because we were never taught how. So I have a lot of compassion for the dilemma. But the other thing with happiness is you cannot have happiness without wholeness. And I'm talking about, again, emotional, psychological wholeness. If we're in physical bodies that get sick and things break and things don't work the way, I'm talking about our heart, mind space. If we want to be happy, we have to be whole. But wholeness means the good, the bad, and the ick. And most of us are taught to seek goodness not wholeness, because goodness kind of gets rid of the icky parts of ourselves that we don't like and the things that we're not proud of. But a whole human is beautiful and gross and awesome and terrible and messy and fabulous all at the same time. Some people genuinely are not able to access happy because of oppression, because of lack of access to things like clean water and a safe place to live and enough food, or if you're living in a war-torn country. There are certain circumstances that make it all but impossible to access at least environmental. People who are like, happiness is a state of mind. I'm like, yeah, but it's really hard to find that when you don't know if tomorrow your whole family is going to be not alive anymore.
Yes.
So assuming you have your basic needs met, assuming you have access to resources, assuming that you have some choices, then happiness is not some place we find. It is being content. It's being grateful, all those things that get sort of shined up like you should be happy and you should be grateful. I think happiness is found in the freedom to own our experience without having other people imposing their wills upon us.
For me, anger can be clarity. When I get angry, I'm like, I know exactly what I don't want. I know exactly I want the opposite of this feeling. And I have the clarity to express myself. And when that anger shows up, there's a positive upside of a negative, what we perceive as a negative emotion.
That's why I don't even like this idea of positive thinking and negative thinking. Like, my thing is, let's go to realistic thinking. Because if you're only thinking positive, you're denying the reality of pain. But if you're only thinking negative, you're denying the reality of resources. So I don't like gratitude journals because they ignore the reality of the things that bother you. So instead of doing a gratitude list, let's just take a truth inventory. Here are some things that are awesome and that are working well and that I'm grateful for. Here are some things that are really, really messed up. And here are some things I'm sad about. Negative emotions they're not bad. They're just uncomfortable. How about comfortable and less comfortable? Because there's no such thing as a bad emotion. I don't like shame. I don't think shame has a whole lot of benefit to our lives. But generally, happiness, sadness, fear, even anxiety, even the things that we don't particularly care for have a function. They keep us alive.